So next, we're going to talk about how you prepare and take your Certified Cloud Practitioner exam. Now, first of all, we know that there are several steps to getting your AWS certification. You need to learn, that's hopefully what you have done through this course, then sign up, and that's what we covered in the previous clip. But now we get to both study and actually taking the test. And those are the things that we're going to be focusing on here within this clip. So first, let's talk about studying for the exam. So let's review each of the different areas that you need to know for the exam. First of all, let's look at cloud concepts. So you need to know within this area the differences between traditional data centers and cloud platforms and understand why those differences are important. We also need to look at how AWS organizes its infrastructure globally and look at how scalability differs between the cloud and traditional data centers. Also know things like the difference between CapEx and OpEx expenditures. Then let's look at security. So within security, you first need to understand the shared responsibility model from AWS that we covered in this course. We also need to review the highlighted best practices for securing your account. Then we need to review the options for securing traffic within a VPC. And this is when we look at concepts like EC2 security groups and access control lists for VPCs. We also need to understand IAM and the different identity types, and also understand the principle of least privilege access. Then, within billing and pricing, you need to review the tools that can help you understand your AWS costs. You need to be able to explain each of those tools and when you would use them. You also want to understand the most cost-effective ways to leverage core services. Understand the cost impact between different S3 storage classes, or between EC2 and reserved instances and spot instances. You also want to review how costs differ from traditional data centers, and review the different ways that organizations can manage and review their costs, and also understand the different support plan levels. Next, we'll look at technology, and technology covers again a third of the exam for your Certified Cloud Practitioner certification. So first of all, you need to review each of the AWS services that are included in the services list that we have provided with the second and third course in this path. That's going to be critical. You should ideally be able to cover up the name of the service, read the description, and be able to give the name. That's going to help you know if you really understand what that service is. You also need to implement some basic solutions using the services that we've covered. So we have included several demos within this path, and you can choose to explore those services from within the AWS console. You also want to review those architectural principles for fault tolerance and high availability that we talked about also within this course, and look at the different scalability approaches. So now that you've studied that, what do? Well, once it gets to be the day where you're taking the exam, after you've signed up for the exam through what we covered in the last clip, we're now ready to talk about how you take the exam. So first of all, let's go through some general best practices for this certification test. First of all, you do need to take time to analyze each question for its intent. There's a reason AWS is asking a specific question. So if we have spent time talking about a specific concept, and you see a question around that concept, try to remember how we covered it within the course. We also want to review what is required for the answer on each question. And this is critical because you have both multiple choice and multiple answer. So it could be that you need to select 2 or 3 answers for a specific question. So make sure that you review that for each question. Another thing to note here is just skip a question if it takes too much time. And you can do that by leveraging the review capability. You can mark a question that you need to go back and review later. Then you can go back and spend time on those questions that you weren't sure on. And once you go through that review phase, just guess if you don't know the answer. Because this is a multiple choice and a multiple answer test, you still have the opportunity to get things right even if you don't really know the answer. Next, you want to examine the clock after each 10 questions. So just make a mental habit of saying, okay, question 10, let me look at the time. Question 20, let me look at the time. This way, it will keep you from looking at the time, especially if you have some anxiety around timed tests. This way, you can see how you're progressing towards that 90-minute limit. You don't want to be looking at it after each question, so just choose to look after each 10 questions. Once you have these things in place, I believe you'll do well on your Certified Cloud Practitioner exam.